And I really do love the feedback I get from the emails, just how we're able to help you guys, with better increase your health span. And that's the biggest goal here, helping you understand what you need to do and why you need to do it. But there's also a few interesting things that have happened. So recently there was an email that went out from me, and it was about your routine, right? And there's quite a handful of responses. Now, most of them gave me a lovely routine that you're taking, and I love it. Love to hear what's going on in your life. But also, a lot of them were like, I take them as needed. And I'm like, huh, taking supplements as needed. Like that just doesn't make sense to me because, we talk about the pillars of health, right? And supplementation is in there. So let's just focus on a few of them, right? Eating healthy, so a balanced diet, exercise, taking supplements, sleeping well, hydration. Let's just take those. Are you going to do those on an as needed basis? Are you going to eat well as needed? Are you going to exercise as needed, sleep well as needed, hydrate as needed? No. You're going to do this stuff every day to take care of yourself. Otherwise, it's not going to matter. It doesn't matter if you eat unbalanced in junk for 6 days, but one day you decide that you're going to eat super healthy. That doesn't make a difference. It is not going to move the needle at all. It's actually going to help you continue to go in the wrong direction. So when it comes to supplementation, you have to understand that the goal of taking this stuff is to keep your levels at an optimal level, right? The moment you stop doing things healthy for yourself, you stop taking your supplements, you stop eating well, things decline pretty rapidly, right? So we don't want to have that. So make sure like there's consistency with supplementation. Consistency is key. Consistency with eating well is key. Exercising, I mean, all of that, you have to be consistent. So I want you to focus on that. And then another interesting thing, this just came from, I know I love talking about my podcast, but I always like find such interesting things to talk about. And this is talking about RDIs, so recommended dietary intakes, right? These are all on our labels. We see them, right? It has to be there. And the intakes were established in the 1990s. So let's think, I mean, we are 35 years beyond that, right? Nutrition and health science is forever evolving and changing. This is stuff that hasn't been changed in 35 years, which is pretty significant. And also, I
Wow.
want you to think about this is what these doctors were saying. They're like, the RDIs are like a joke because when it says recommended dietary intake, we take that as okay, if we're meeting that, we're doing great, we're good. But that is your bare minimum. That is your bare minimum to prevent disease and deficiency and severe deficiencies. We're not here to do a bare minimum, right? We're here to reach to be optimal, to optimize our health. So you have to understand when you see these things, and I'm thinking about this too when it comes to like protein intake. Protein intake, the RDI is zero 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. But these doctors are saying like that needs to be doubled. To be optimized, that needs to be doubled. Okay, the 0.8 again is just to prevent these severe deficiencies that lead to severe diseases. So it's kind of confusing, and I want you to understand that. So we need to be taking this stuff. We need to be taking our supplements. We need to be exceeding these RDIs. Think about almost like doubling it, right? So just keep that in mind when reading this stuff, because I feel like a lot of times, and we don't all do perfect every single day, right? So you want to really optimize what you do. As you can on certain days because certain days you're going to fall short, right? So you might be traveling one day and your protein intake is horrible, right? But you've done so well and really optimized your protein intake the rest of the day. So what do you think about that when it comes to balance? And then one more thing, I just want to throw out a supplement I have in front of me too, because speaking of like intake and statistics, I have our organic fiber. So the latest studies show that less than 4% of American men and less than 12% of American women are consuming adequate fiber. That is basically less than 90% of the population, or sorry, about 90% of the population is deficient in fiber. Why? Okay, we're not getting it from our diet. That is why. So you have to supplement it. Deficiency in fiber, guys, this is a real thing. And I like to talk about it. A lot of times we think about fiber and our gut and all that. Yes, 100%. But it's a lot of times it's the missing piece in our weight loss, right? So if you're not losing weight, if you're sticking where you are and you're trying and doing everything, if your fiber intake is not adequate, guys, you are going to be holding on to these extra pounds.